The ship moved slowly through the darkness of space. Old metal floated everywhere. Broken pieces of warships drifted like dead leaves in a black ocean. This was the Hollow Expanse, a place where two great fleets had killed each other 15 years ago. Daniel Carter stood at the window of his small salvage ship. He was 40 years old now. His hair had turned gray at the sides. His eyes looked tired, like a man who had seen too many bad things. He watched the wreckage float past and felt something cold move through his chest. "Found something good," said Lara Bennett from the pilot's seat. She was younger than Daniel, maybe 32, with short dark hair and quick hands. She had been his partner for 3 years now. "Looks like engine parts. Worth maybe 2,000 credits if they still work." Daniel did not answer. He was looking at a piece of metal that spun slowly in the void. It was black and smooth, shaped like the wing of some giant insect. Vectari design. He knew it immediately. His hands became fists at his sides. "Danny?" Lara turned to look at him. "You okay?" "Fine," he said. But his voice was rough. "Let us get the parts and leave." Lara watched him for a moment. She had learned not to push Daniel when he got like this. The man had secrets. Everyone who worked in deep space had secrets. But his were heavier than most. She could see it in the way he carried himself, like a man walking with chains around his neck. They spent 2 hours pulling metal from the debris field. Daniel worked the mechanical arms of the ship, while Lara kept them steady. Neither of them spoke much. The silence of space filled the cabin. When they finished, Lara set a course for the nearest trading station. She put her feet up and closed her eyes. 3 days to Port Callaway. I'm going to sleep for most of it. Daniel nodded. He was about to say something when the communication system made a loud noise. A red light flashed on the console. Lara sat up fast. What the hell? She looked at the screen. Her face changed. "Danny, you need to see this." He walked over and looked at the message. It was an emergency broadcast sent on all channels. The words made his blood run cold. A Vectari armada had entered human space. 30 warships, maybe more. The biggest fleet anyone had seen since the war. But they were not attacking. They had stopped at the border and sent a message. The Vectari Queen herself was aboard the lead ship. She wanted to talk. She wanted a summit with human leaders. "This is bad," Lara said. "This is really bad. The Vectari have not spoken to us in 15 years. Why now?" Daniel said nothing. He read the message again and again. His heart was beating hard in his chest. The Vectari Queen. He knew that title. He knew what it meant. "There is more," Lara said. She pointed at the screen. A second message came through. "Private channel. It is addressed to you." Daniel felt the world tilt under his feet. "What? Your name?" "Daniel James Carter. Former combat medic, 3rd Marine Division. It is asking for you by name." He reached past her and opened the message. The words appeared on the screen in cold white letters. "Daniel Carter. You are summoned to the summit at Damar Station. The Queen of the Vectari Empire requests your presence. You will come alone. A transport will meet you at Port Callaway in 4 days. There was no signature. No explanation. Just those words. Lara stared at him. "Danny, what the hell is going on? How does the Vectari Queen know your name?" He stepped back from the console. His legs felt weak. 15 years. 15 years he had buried the secret. 15 years he had tried to forget what happened at Crestfall Station. Now it was coming back for him. "I cannot explain," he said. "Cannot or will not." "Both." Lara stood up. She was angry now. "We've been partners for 3 years. I have trusted you with my life more times than I can count. And you are telling me you have some kind of connection to the Vektari Queen, and you cannot explain it? Daniel looked at her. He saw the hurt in her eyes. She deserved better than his silence. But he did not have the words. Not yet. I did something during the war, he said slowly. Something I have never told anyone. I thought it did not matter anymore. I thought everyone had forgotten. Clearly someone remembers. Yes. He looked back at the message on the screen. Someone remembers. Lara was quiet for a long moment. Then she sighed and sat back down. So what are you going to do? Daniel thought about running. He could ignore the message. He could disappear into the outer colonies where no one would find him. He could spend the rest of his life hiding, but he knew he would not do that. He had been hiding for 15 years already. It was time to face what he had done. I am going to the summit, he said. Are you crazy? This could be a trap. The Vektari could be looking for revenge or something. Maybe. Daniel sat down in the co-pilot seat. But I do not think so. If the Queen wanted me dead, she would not announce it to the whole galaxy. She wants something else. What? Answers, maybe. The same as me. Lara shook her head. I am coming with you, the message said alone. I do not care what the message said. I am your pilot. You go somewhere. I take you there. That is how this works. Daniel almost smiled. Almost. Thank you, Lara. Do not thank me. Just promise me one thing. What? When this is over, you tell me what happened. The whole story. No more secrets. Daniel looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, a queen was waiting for him. A queen he had met once before, in blood and fire and darkness. He wondered if she had changed. He wondered if he had. I promise, he said. When this is over, I will tell you everything. The ship turned toward Port Callaway. Behind them, the wreckage of the old war continued to drift in the silence of space. Ahead, a new chapter was beginning. Daniel did not know if it would end in peace or destruction. He only knew that he had to face it. He closed his eyes and saw her again. The wounded princess in the burning station. The fear in her eyes. The small bodies of the larvae she protected. He had made a choice that day. Now he would learn what that choice had cost him, or what it had saved. The journey to Port Callaway took 3 days. Daniel spent most of that time in his small cabin, lying on his bed and staring at the ceiling. He could not sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the past. Lara tried to talk to him. She brought him food and coffee. She asked questions. But Daniel only gave short answers. He was not ready to speak. Not yet. The memories were too heavy. On the second night, he finally gave up on sleep. He went to the small cargo hold at the back of the ship and sat alone in the darkness. And he let himself remember. 15 years ago, Daniel was a young man. 23 years old. Strong and full of hope. He had joined the military because he wanted to help people. He trained as a combat medic. His job was to save lives, not take them. Then the war came. The Vektari arrived without warning. They came from the dark spaces between stars, a species no human had ever seen before. They looked like giant insects with hard shells and many legs. Their eyes were like black glass. They did not try to talk. They only attacked. Human colonies burned. Millions died. The military fought back, but the Vektari were stronger and faster. Their ships moved like living things. Their weapons cut through metal like paper. Daniel was sent to Crestfall Station, a mining outpost on the edge of human space. The Vektari had taken it 3 days before. His unit was ordered to take it back. He remembered the dropship shaking as it entered the atmosphere. He remembered the faces of the Marines around him. Young men and women scared but ready to fight. Some of them would be dead within hours. The battle was terrible. The station was a maze of dark tunnels and burning rooms. Vektari warriors waited around every corner. They were tall and fast, with claws that could cut through armor. Daniel saw friends die in front of him. He saw things that would haunt him forever, but he did his job. He crawled through fire and smoke to reach wounded soldiers. He stopped bleeding and sealed wounds. He held dying men and told them it would be okay, even when he knew it was a lie. On the third day, his squad pushed deep into the station. They were looking for the Vektari command center. Intelligence said that if they could destroy it, the enemy would lose coordination. The battle would be over. They found the command center behind a heavy door. Sergeant Cole, the squad leader, planted explosives and blew it open. They rushed inside with weapons ready. Daniel expected to find warriors. He expected a fight. Instead, he found children. The room was large and dark. Strange lights glowed on the walls. And in the center, huddled together, were a dozen small creatures. They looked like baby Vektari, their shells soft and pale, their eyes huge with fear. Larvae. Children. Standing in front of them was a single Vektari adult. But she was different from the warriors they had fought. She was taller and more graceful. Her shell had patterns that glowed blue and green. She was wounded badly. Purple blood ran down her side. But she stood between the Marines and the children, her arms spread wide. She did not attack. She did not run. She just stood there, shielding the little ones with her broken body. Sergeant Cole raised his weapon. "Kill them all," he said. "No survivors." Daniel watched the Vektari female. He saw the fear in her eyes. Real fear. Not the cold aggression of the warriors. This was something different. This was a mother protecting her children. "Wait," Daniel said. Cole turned to look at him. "What?" "They are just children. Look at them. They cannot fight. They are Vektari. They will grow up to be killers. Orders are orders, medic." Daniel looked at the larvae. They were pressing close to the female, making small sounds of terror. Some of them were shaking. He thought about his sister back home, about her 2 young kids. He thought about what it meant to be human. "No," he said. Cole's face went red with anger. "What did you say?" "I said no. I will not let you kill children." For a moment, Daniel thought Cole would shoot him. The sergeant's finger tightened on the trigger. The other Marines watched in silence. Then an explosion shook the station. The lights went out. Emergency alarms began to scream. In the confusion, Cole turned away from Daniel to check the door. Daniel moved fast. He ran to the Vektari female and knelt beside her. She made a hissing sound and tried to pull away, but she was too weak. "I am not going to hurt you," Daniel said. He did not know if she could understand him, but he spoke anyway. "I am a medic. I help people. Let me help you." He opened his kit and worked on her wounds. He sealed the worst cuts and gave her a shot to stop the pain. The whole time, she watched him with those strange dark eyes. She did not move. She did not attack. When he finished, he pointed to a maintenance hatch on the far wall. "Go," he said. "Take the children and go. I will keep them busy." The female looked at him for a long moment. Something passed between them. He did not know what it was. Understanding, maybe? Or gratitude. Then she gathered the larvae and moved to the hatch. One by one, they disappeared into the darkness. The female was last. She looked back at Daniel one final time. Then she was gone. Cole came back a minute later. "Where are they?" Daniel pointed to the main door. "They ran that way, into the tunnels." Cole cursed and led the squad after them. They searched for hours but found nothing. The Vektari female and her children had vanished. Daniel never told anyone what really happened. He kept the secret locked inside his heart. After the war ended, he left the military. He could not stay. He could not look at his fellow soldiers and carry that lie. So he became a salvage operator. He flew to the far edges of space, picking through wreckage, living alone with his guilt and his memories. Now, sitting in the dark cargo hold, Daniel wondered if he had made the right choice. The female he saved had become a queen. The children he spared had grown up to be rulers of an empire. His one act of mercy had changed the course of history, but he still did not know if it was a mistake. The ship hummed around him. Tomorrow they would reach Port Callaway. Soon he would stand before the Queen and learn the answer. He closed his eyes and saw her face again. The wounded princess. The mother. "I hope you remember," he whispered to the darkness. "I hope you remember what I did for you." Somewhere across the stars, he imagined her waiting for him, and he wondered what she would say when they finally met again. Damar Station hung in space like a silver wheel. It was old, built before the war by traders who wanted neutral ground. Now it would host the most important meeting in human history. Daniel stood at the window of his small room on the station. He had arrived 2 hours ago. Laura was with him, though the Vectari had not been happy about it. She refused to leave his side, and eventually they allowed her to stay. Outside the window, ships filled the darkness. Human warships on one side, Vectari vessels on the other. The alien ships were beautiful in a terrible way. They looked like living things, with smooth black shells and glowing patterns along their sides. The biggest ship was 3 times larger than anything humans had built. That was the Queen's flagship. "You look sick," Laura said from behind him. "I feel sick." She walked over and stood beside him. "It is not too late to run." Daniel shook his head. "Yes, it is." A chime sounded at the door. A human officer in a crisp uniform entered. He was tall with broad shoulders and cold eyes. His name tag read Commander Kevin Price. "Daniel Carter?" he asked. "Yes. You are wanted in the summit chamber. The Vectari delegation has arrived." Price looked at him with suspicion. "I do not know why the Queen asked for you specifically, but I hope you know what you are doing. The fate of humanity might depend on what happens in that room." Daniel said nothing. What could he say? He did not know what he was doing. He only knew that he had to face this. They walked through the station together. The corridors were full of soldiers and diplomats. Everyone looked nervous. The air felt heavy with tension. The summit chamber was a large round room with a high ceiling. Seats rose in circles around a central floor. Human officials sat on one side. The other side was empty, waiting for the Vectri. Daniel was led to the observation gallery above the main floor. He sat in a small chair and looked down at the scene below. Laura sat beside him, her hand resting on his arm. "Whatever happens," she said quietly, "I am here." He nodded but did not speak. His throat was too tight for words. The doors on the far side of the chamber opened. The Vectari entered. First came the warriors. They were huge, almost 8 feet tall, with hard black shells and eyes like dark glass. They moved with terrible grace, their claws clicking on the metal floor. Each one could probably kill a dozen humans without effort. Behind the warriors came the advisors. They were smaller, with softer shells and longer limbs. Their heads turned constantly, watching everything. Their mandibles clicked and buzzed as they communicated in their own language. Then the Queen arrived. Daniel stopped breathing. She was magnificent. There was no other word for it. She stood taller than even the warriors, her body covered in a shell that gleamed like polished night. Patterns of blue and green light moved across her carapace, the same patterns Daniel remembered from 15 years ago. Her eyes were ancient and deep, holding secrets older than human civilization. She walked into the chamber like she owned it. And in a way, she did. Everyone fell silent. Even the human commanders looked small before her. The queen moved to the center of the floor. Her advisors spread out behind her. She stood there for a moment, letting everyone feel her presence. Then her head turned. Slowly, deliberately, she looked up at the observation gallery. Her eyes found Daniel. The room seemed to freeze. Daniel felt his heart stop. He could not move. He could not look away. Those eyes held him like chains. The queen spoke. Her voice was strange, like many sounds layered on top of each other. But the translator device made her words clear. "Do you remember me, human?" Every person in the room turned to look at Daniel. Hundreds of eyes, human and Victari, all staring at him. He stood up slowly. His legs felt weak. His hands were shaking. But he forced himself to speak. "I remember." A murmur ran through the crowd. Commander Price stood up at his table, his face full of confusion and anger. What is the meaning of this? Who is this man? The queen did not look at Price. Her eyes stayed fixed on Daniel. 15 cycles ago, she said, I was not a queen. I was young, foolish. I led a group of younglings on a journey through your territory. We were caught in the battle at a place you call Crestfall Station. The room went completely silent. My guards were killed. I was wounded. My children huddled behind me, waiting to die. The queen's voice grew softer. Your soldiers found us. They were ready to kill us all. That was the order they followed. No survivors. Daniel walked to the railing of the gallery. He looked down at the queen. His heart was pounding so hard, he could hear it in his ears. But one human refused, the queen continued. One small medic put down his weapon. He treated my wounds. He showed my children kindness when he had every reason to show them death. Then he let us escape. The queen raised one long arm and pointed at Daniel. That human was you. The room exploded in noise. Humans shouted questions. Victari clicked and buzzed. Commander Price looked like he wanted to arrest someone, but did not know who. Daniel ignored all of it. He walked down the stairs from the gallery. People moved out of his way. He crossed the chamber floor until he stood directly in front of the queen. She was so tall. He had to look up to see her face. This close, he could smell her, a strange scent like flowers and metal. He could see every detail of her shell, every pattern of light moving across her body. Why? She asked. Her voice was quiet now, meant only for him. Why did you spare us? Your people wanted us dead. Your commanders ordered our deaths. You risked everything to save us. Why? Daniel thought about the question. He had asked himself the same thing 1,000 times over the years, and he had never found a good answer until now. Because mercy is not weakness, he said. Because I looked at you and I did not see an enemy. I saw a mother protecting her children. I saw fear and love and desperation. I saw someone who deserved to live. The queen was silent for a long moment. I have ruled my empire for 10 cycles, she finally said. I have made war and peace. I have destroyed planets and built new worlds. But I have never forgotten you, human. I have never forgotten what you did. She lowered her head until her face was level with his. You taught me something that day. You taught me that humans are more than killers. You taught me that mercy exists even in war. That lesson changed everything. Daniel did not know what to say. So he said nothing. He just looked into her ancient eyes and let her see the truth in his. The queen straightened up and turned to face the room. I have come here today to propose an alliance, she announced. Not peace through fear. True partnership between our peoples. Trade, cooperation, shared defense against the darkness that waits beyond the stars. The humans stared in shock. An alliance with the Victari? It seemed impossible. But the queen was offering it. And this man, she said, pointing at Daniel again, will be the bridge between our worlds. He showed mercy when none was expected. He will serve as the first human ambassador to the Vektari Empire. Daniel felt the weight of 1,000 eyes on him. The weight of history. The weight of 2 civilizations. But he did not look away from the Queen. "I accept," he said, and with those 2 words, everything changed. The summit continued for 3 more days. Daniel sat at the negotiation table now, no longer hidden in the gallery. He sat between humans and Vektari, translating not just words, but feelings, intentions, hopes. It was harder than any battle he had ever fought. The human commanders did not trust the Vektari. Why would they? The war had killed millions. Every person in the room had lost someone to the enemy. Hatred ran deep in their bones. The Vektari advisors did not trust the humans either. To them, humanity was a species of chaos, unpredictable, dangerous. Many of them whispered that the Queen was making a mistake, but Queen Sylphari never wavered. She sat at the head of her delegation like a mountain, calm and unshakable. When her advisors protested, she silenced them with a look. When human commanders shouted accusations, she answered with patience. And always, she looked to Daniel. "The humans fear us," she said to him during a break in the negotiations. They stood alone in a small room off the main chamber. Her warriors waited outside. "They think this is a trick. They think I want to destroy them. Can you blame them?" Daniel asked. "The war killed a lot of people. Memories like that do not fade quickly. No, they do not." The Queen's patterns flickered with something Daniel could not read. Sadness, maybe, or regret. But the war was a mistake. I know that now. We attacked your kind without trying to understand you. We saw only enemies. We did not see mothers and fathers and children. Daniel thought about that. What made you stop? 15 years ago, the Vektari were winning. Your fleets were destroying our colonies. Then suddenly you retreated. No one ever understood why. The Queen was quiet for a moment. Then she spoke. "Because of you." Daniel stared at her. "What?" "After you saved us at Crestfall Station, I was brought before the old Queen. She was my mother. She asked me what happened. I told her about the human medic who showed mercy, about the small man who defied his own commanders to spare children." The Queen turned to look at a window that showed the stars outside. My mother laughed. She said humans were weak, that your mercy was proof of your inferiority. She ordered me to forget what happened and focus on winning the war. But you did not forget. No, I could not. Sylphari's voice grew soft. I kept thinking about your eyes, about the way you looked at my children. You did not see enemies. You saw lives worth saving. That thought haunted me. She turned back to face Daniel. When my mother died, I became queen. The first thing I did was order our fleets to retreat. My generals were furious. We were winning. Victory was close. But I knew we were wrong. I knew that a species capable of producing someone like you deserved a chance. Daniel felt something shift inside his chest. For 15 years, he had carried guilt about what he did. He had wondered if his act of mercy was foolish. If he had betrayed his own kind, now he understood. His choice had not just saved a few children. It had saved humanity itself. I spent 15 years watching your kind, the Queen continued. I sent observers. I studied your history, your art, your wars. I learned that humans are full of contradictions. You build hospitals and bombs. You write poetry and plan murders. You are capable of great cruelty and great kindness. That sounds about right, Daniel said. At first, I did not understand. How could one species contain so many opposites? But then I realized something. Your contradictions are your strength. You are not locked into one way of being. You can choose what to become. In any moment, you can choose mercy over violence, hope over despair, She stepped closer to Daniel. Her shadow fell over him like a cool wave. That is why I came here. Not because I think humans are perfect, but because I think you are interesting, worth knowing, worth protecting. Daniel did not know what to say. He had spent so long thinking of the Victari as the enemy, monsters who came from the dark to destroy everything he loved. But standing here with the Queen, he saw something different. He saw a being who had struggled with the same questions he had, who had looked at the universe and tried to find meaning in the chaos. The negotiations are not going well, he said finally. Commander Price and the others do not trust you. They think you are planning something. What do you think? Daniel looked into her eyes. Those ancient alien eyes that had seen things he could not imagine. I think you are telling the truth. I think you really want peace. Then help me convince them. The Queen leaned closer. You are the bridge, Daniel Carter. You are the only human who has seen me as something other than an enemy. Use that. Show them what you showed me 15 years ago. Daniel nodded slowly. I will try. They returned to the negotiations. Daniel spoke to the human commanders. He told them about Crestfall Station. He told them what he had done and why. He told them about the wounded princess and the frightened children. At first, they were angry. Some accused him of treason. Commander Price looked at him like he was something disgusting, but Daniel kept talking. He spoke about mercy and strength, about the power of one small choice, about the future that was possible if they could let go of the past. The war is over, he said. We can spend the rest of our lives hating each other. We can build bigger weapons and fight more battles and kill more children. Or we can try something different. We can try to understand. He pointed at the Queen. She was my enemy. She was everything I was taught to hate and fear. But she came here in peace. She offered her hand. The question is whether we are brave enough to take it. The room was silent. Then, slowly, Commander Price stood up. You are asking us to trust the beings who killed our families, he said. You are asking us to forget everything they did. No, Daniel said. I am asking you to remember. Remember the pain. Remember the loss. And then choose not to pass it on. That is what makes us human. We can choose to break the cycle. Price stared at him for a long moment. Daniel could see the war inside the man. The hatred battling was something else. Something fragile and new. Finally, Price turned to the Queen. If we agree to this alliance, what guarantees do we have? How do we know you will not attack again? The Queen rose to her full height. You have my word, she said. The word of the Queen of the Victari Empire. I swear on the lives of my children, the same children this human saved, that we will honor this alliance as long as I live. Price looked at Daniel. You trust her? With my life. Another long silence. Then Price sighed and sat down. Then I suppose we should start talking about details. Lavra, watching from the gallery, let out a breath she did not know she was holding. She saw Daniel stand a little straighter. She saw the Queen's patterns glow brighter. It was not victory. Not yet. There would be months of negotiations. Years of building trust. Mistakes and misunderstandings and moments of doubt. But it was a beginning. And sometimes, a beginning was all you needed. 1 year had passed since the summit at Damara Station. Daniel stood on a balcony high above the Victari throne world. The planet was called Sirith Prime, and it was unlike anything he had ever imagined. Giant towers rose from the ground like the spires of some enormous cathedral. They were not built from metal or stone, but grown from living material, shaped over thousands of years by Victari architects. Lights glowed inside them like trapped stars. Below the balcony, a city spread out in all directions. Millions of Victari moved through the streets. They walked and climbed and flew on wings that humans did not know they had. The sound of their clicking voices rose up like music, and among them, humans walked too. That was the strangest part. After a year of negotiations, trade agreements, and cultural exchange, humans had finally been allowed to visit the Vektari homeworld. Small groups of diplomats, scientists, and artists now moved through the alien city, trying to understand a civilization older than human memory. Daniel watched them from his balcony. He wore simple clothes, nothing fancy. He had refused all the ceremonial robes the Vektari tried to give him. He was not a king or a priest. He was just a man trying to build a bridge. A door opened behind him. Lavra walked out onto the balcony, carrying 2 cups of something hot. "Coffee," she said, handing him one. "Real coffee. I found a human trader who brought some from Earth." Daniel took the cup and breathed in the smell. It reminded him of home, a home he had not visited in over a year. "How was your trip?" he asked. Lavra had been running trade routes between human and Vektari space. Her small ship had been upgraded with Vektari technology, making it faster and stronger than anything humans had built before. She was getting rich, but more importantly, she was helping both species learn to work together. "Good," she said. "The Vektari in the outer colonies are starting to warm up to us. Still some tension, but nothing serious. How are things here?" Daniel sipped his coffee. "Complicated. The Queen and I met with the Council of Elders yesterday. Half of them still think the alliance is a mistake. They believe humans are too chaotic, too unpredictable. Are they wrong?" "No," Daniel smiled slightly. "But that is also our strength. The Queen understands that, even if her council does not." They stood in silence for a while, watching the alien sun set over the city. The sky turned colors that had no names in human language. "You know," Laura said, "I never really thanked you." "For what?" "For telling me the truth. About Crestfall Station. About everything?" She looked at him. "I spent 3 years flying with you, thinking you were just some quiet guy with a sad past. Turns out you saved the entire human race." Daniel shook his head. "I did not save anyone. I just made a choice. One small choice in one small moment. Everything that came after was luck." "Luck and courage," Lavra said. "Do not sell yourself short, Danny. You stood up to your own commanders. You risked your life to protect enemy children. That is not nothing." Before Daniel could answer, another door opened. A Vektari servant entered the balcony and bowed low. "Ambassador Carter," the servant said. "The Queen requests your presence." Daniel nodded. "Tell her I will be there soon." The servant left. Laura raised an eyebrow. "Ambassador Carter," she repeated, grinning. "Fancy title for a salvage operator." "I am still a salvage operator. I just have more meetings now." He finished his coffee and headed inside. Lavra stayed on the balcony, watching the stars come out. The Queen's private chamber was deep inside the central tower. Daniel walked through corridors of living material, past guards who nodded to him with something like respect. A year ago, they would have killed him on sight. Now they knew his face. They knew his story. He found Silthari waiting for him in a room filled with strange plants that glowed in the darkness. She sat on a raised platform, her long limbs folded beneath her. Her patterns pulsed slowly, a sign of calm. "Daniel," she said, "thank you for coming." He bowed his head slightly. It was a gesture he had learned, a sign of respect between equals. "You wanted to see me?" "Yes." The Queen rose and walked to a window that looked out over her city. "Do you know what day this is?" Daniel thought for a moment. 1 year since the summit. 1 year since everything changed. Silthari's voice was thoughtful. 1 year of peace between our peoples. 1 year of learning and growing and building something new. "It has not been easy," Daniel said. "No, but nothing worth doing ever is." She turned to face him. "I wanted to thank you, Daniel." not for saving my life 15 years ago. I have thanked you for that many times. I wanted to thank you for this year, for standing beside me when my own people doubted, for helping humans and Vektari see each other as more than enemies. Daniel felt uncomfortable with praise. He always had. I was just doing my job. You were doing more than that. The Queen stepped closer. You were being human, stubborn, brave, full of hope even when hope seemed foolish. That is the gift your species carries. The ability to believe in tomorrow even when today is dark. She reached out one long arm and touched his shoulder. It was a strange feeling, those alien fingers on his body. But it was also warm, almost gentle. I used to think humans were chaos, she said. Now, I think you are something else. You are possibility. You carry within you the power to become anything. Destroyers or builders. Monsters or saints. Every day, you choose who you will be. And you? Daniel asked. What do the Vektari carry? Memory. The Queen's patterns flickered. We remember everything. Every choice, every moment, every life. We build our future on the foundation of our past. That is our strength and our weakness. We are slow to change because we cannot forget. But you changed, Daniel said. You ended the war. You offered peace. Because of you. Silvery lowered her head until her eyes were level with his. You taught me that the past does not have to define the future. That a single moment of mercy can outweigh 1,000 moments of cruelty. That is a lesson I will never forget. Daniel looked into her eyes. He still did not fully understand her. Maybe he never would. She was alien, ancient, built from a different blueprint than anything human. But in that moment, he felt a connection. Two beings from different worlds, trying to find common ground. Do you remember what you asked me at the summit? He said, you asked why I spared you. Why I showed mercy when I had every reason to kill. I remember. I think I finally have a better answer. Daniel paused, searching for the right words. I spared you because that is who I wanted to be. Not a killer. Not a monster. Someone who could look at an enemy and see a person. Someone who could choose love over hate. And if you had chosen differently? If you had killed us that day? Daniel shook his head. Then I would not be the man standing here now. I would be someone else. Someone worse. The Queen was silent for a long moment. Then she made a sound that Daniel had learned to recognize as Vektari laughter. Your species is very strange, she said. But I am glad you exist. I am glad you are my friend. Daniel smiled. I am glad too. They stood together by the window, watching the alien night settle over the city. Ships from both species crossed the sky above, carrying traders and diplomats and explorers. The future stretched out before them, vast and unknown. There would be challenges ahead. There always were. Some humans still hated the Vektari. Some Vektari still wanted war. The universe was full of dangers neither species had faced yet. But for now, there was peace. There was hope. There was a bridge between two worlds, built on a single act of mercy. Lara found Daniel later that night, still standing on the Queen's balcony. How did it go? She asked. Good. Daniel looked at the stars. I think we are going to be okay. Yeah? Lara stood beside him. You know, when I first met you, you were just some sad guy picking through wreckage. Now you are basically the most important human alive. Daniel laughed softly. I am still sad sometimes. I still think about what I did and wonder if it was right. And then I look at this. He gestured at the city below, at the ships in the sky, at the whole impossible future spreading out around them. And I think that maybe one act of kindness really can change everything. Maybe that is the most human thing of all. Lavra put her hand on his arm. Come on, hero, she said. Let us go home. Daniel took one last look at the alien stars. Then he turned and walked inside. Home was wherever he went now. Wherever there were people who needed bridges. Wherever there was darkness that needed a little light. He was ready.